Rome had conquered Greece, but its next enemy ruled a huge empire in the east. Then Antiochus III made one move that brought Rome into Asia. Alright, so, Rome had just finished breaking Macedonia's power. Greece was now firmly inside Rome's growing sphere of influence. But Rome had a new problem. The biggest kingdom nearby was not in Greece. It was much farther east. The Seleucid Empire stretched across huge parts of the ancient world. And its king was Antiochus III. He was not some weak ruler waiting to be defeated. He was known as Antiochus the Great. He had spent years rebuilding his kingdom. He had armies. He had money. He had war elephants. He had ships. And he controlled land stretching across much of Western Asia. So here is the thing. Rome and Antiochus did not wake up one morning and decide, let's fight. The tension had been building for years. Rome had moved into Greece. Antiochus had his own interests in the Greek world. Both powers were making friends with smaller states. Both wanted influence. And neither wanted the other becoming too strong. It was basically a giant political standoff. But standoffs do not last forever. Eventually, someone makes a move. And Antiochus was about to make his. Look, Antiochus had a huge advantage on paper. He ruled a kingdom with enormous resources. His empire had been built from the remains of Alexander the Great's world. That gave him access to many different peoples and soldiers. Greek soldiers. Eastern soldiers. Cavalry. Elephants. Archers. And the famous long spear soldiers that had become a major part of Hellenistic armies. It looked impressive. And honestly, it was impressive. But Rome had something Antiochus could not ignore. Rome had already beaten powerful kings before. Philip V had lost. Macedonia had fallen. And Rome had shown that it could move armies across the sea and keep fighting far from Italy. Antiochus understood this. But he also saw an opportunity. Some Greek states were unhappy with Rome. The Aetolian League especially wanted Rome's influence pushed back. They wanted Antiochus to come. They told him he could become the champion of Greek freedom. That sounded attractive. Antiochus could enter Greece as a protector. He could gain allies. He could weaken Rome. And maybe, just maybe, he could become the strongest power in the eastern Mediterranean. But there was one problem. Rome was watching. Alright, so, Rome did not want Antiochus building a power base in Greece. The Romans had just spent years fighting to make Greece their sphere of influence. They were not going to hand it over to another king. So Rome warned Antiochus. Stay out. Do not cross into Greece. Do not interfere. Antiochus had a choice. Back away. Or take the risk. He chose the risk. In 192 BC, Antiochus crossed into Greece. And suddenly, the Cold War was over. Rome and the Seleucid Empire were going to war. Yeah, this was not just another Greek conflict. This was different. For the first time, Rome was facing a kingdom whose center of power was deep in Asia. And Rome was about to find out something important. Winning in Greece was one thing. Crossing into Asia was another. Antiochus landed with an army. He expected Greek support. But the response was not what he hoped for. Many Greek states did not rush to his side. Rome had already built strong alliances. Macedonia supported Rome. Pergamon supported Rome. Rhodes supported Rome. The Achaean League supported Rome. So Antiochus had entered Greece expecting a wave of support. Instead, he found himself surrounded by uncertainty. That was a terrible start. But he still had one chance. He chose Thermopylae. And this was not a random battlefield. Thermopylae was famous. It was the same narrow pass where the Spartan king Leonidas had fought the Persians centuries earlier. Antiochus believed the narrow ground could help him. His larger enemy could not use all its soldiers at once. The mountains would protect his sides. His army could hold the pass. At least, that was the plan. But Rome had been doing this for a long time. Roman soldiers knew how to attack strong positions. And one Roman commander found a way around the pass. The Romans sent troops through the mountains. They got behind Antiochus's position. Suddenly, the Seleucid army was trapped. The position that looked so strong became a trap. Antiochus was defeated. He had to flee Greece. And just like that, his big plan started falling apart. Rome had beaten him on Greek soil. But Rome was not finished. Not even close. Because now the Romans were thinking bigger. Antiochus had escaped across the sea. He was back in Asia Minor. And Rome was coming after him. That was the moment this stopped being a war for Greece. Rome was going east. Rome defeated Antiochus in Greece, but now the war was moving into Asia. Could Rome stop the mighty Seleucid Empire? Rome versus Antiochus. Watch the full story on Natioryx.